So we're going to talk now about the infant born to a mother with diabetes. The mother has diabetes during pregnancy. What are the risks to that newborn? There's an increased risk of fetal anomalies, intrauterine fetal death, and poor placental perfusion. So let's get those the effects in pregnancy right off. There's an increased risk of macrosomia. Remember, that's because the glucose that the mom is not handling goes to the baby. Glucose gets to the baby. The baby's pancreas works fine. So it makes enough insulin to handle that. All the insulin, all the glucose that's not needed for immediate energy is stored. And so that baby just builds up this big fat torso. They store as fat. Because of the way that weight is distributed due to this specific issue with diabetes, shoulder dystocia is a higher risk. So they're at risk for shoulder dystocia and they're at risk for birth injuries because of their larger size. The infant of a diabetic mother is also at risk for hypoglycemia because they've been getting all this glucose. Baby's pancreas works fine. Baby's born, cut off the glucose. The pancreas still thinks they're getting like 300, blood sugar's 300. So we're going to keep making insulin. And so the baby gets hypoglycemic very quickly. Hypoglycemic babies don't feed well. They may be irritable, lethargic, hypothermic, and pale. Remember, if we take more energy to one system, it takes away from all the other systems. And remember that we need glucose to breathe well, to maintain temperature, to maintain neurologic function. So what is the management for this? We need to feed that baby ASAP. And if they cannot feed adequately by mouth, they may need IV dextrose. Okay. Another thing that happens is that the baby makes extra red blood cells. So they have polycythemia. And that means their blood may be more viscous, but when they're born, they may actually end up more jaundiced after birth because they start breaking down all those red blood cells, which brings me to another risk. The infant of a diabetic mother is at increased risk for jaundice. There's increased risk of cardiomyopathy. There's increased risk of respiratory distress syndrome because insulin actually opposes development of the lungs, maturation of the lungs. So they'll be bigger, but their lungs are not quite as developed as they should be for gestational age. And sometimes they'll have hypocalcemia and hypomagnesemia at birth. So they may be jittery, have muscle spasms, irritable fatigue. So if you got a baby with a diabetic mom and they're jittery, check their blood sugar first. If their blood sugar is okay, consider that it might be calcium or magnesium.